There is something happening in people's lives. They are being called to things that have notoriously been considered unconventional, the dark, magical, and spiritual side of life. They are seeking life's answers, and so are we. I'm Stephanie Long.
And I'm Kendall Shahan.
And we're investigative journalists who want to break the norm of society's views of what we don't know or understand. We're the conduit for people to share their message that is otherwise considered taboo. The world is a mysterious place full of unexpected miracles, so join us in investigating the unknown. So welcome, everyone. We are really excited to have the Ghost Maidens on today. They're going to tell us a little bit more about what they do and themselves. So go ahead and take it away and let us know some more info about you.
All right. So yeah, like you said, we are the Ghost Maidens. We are half Dutch, half American art duo. And we like to explore the paranormal in a little bit in an unconventional way.
Yes.
By using art and looking at art history to get a broader perspective on universal truth and not proof like most ghost hunters.
Mm-hmm. We want to make art scary again.
Make art great again. Like
I like it.
I like it too.
How did you two meet?
We were working together in the kitchen.
Yeah, we're both.
Yes, so we met each other while flipping burgers with greasy bangs.
And then how did you come up with this plan to become the Ghost Maidens? Do you mind sharing that?
Well, I think it went very naturally. Like one night after flipping burgers, I came home with Sybil and she showed me Ghost Adventures, and I'd never seen that, and I was hooked. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
This feels old and relevant, and why isn't everyone I know completely obsessed with this? So, because in Holland, people are not really focused on the paranormal at all.
Oh, interesting.
It's a taboo, even though we have a lot of history. It's never about ghosts or about
supernatural things.
Yes,
it's all very practical and Protestant.
Very Protestant. But we've noticed that the moment you start speaking about it and people feel like it's safe, everyone has stories.
Yeah.
And they love to talk about it. Like, oh my God, I also have this experience. So I feel like we're doing important work.
I totally agree, because I brought up like some weird stuff at my work. And I made the assumption everyone was going to think I was weird, but they all rolled with it and had ghost stories as well. So I completely agree with what you just said. I think everyone, or one person didn't have a story, but he had a story about his wife. So it's like one removed. So I think everyone has something.
Yeah,
so
I think the modern times, they've made us a little bit like there's this fetish with factual truths or something. Like everything needs to be measured. Everything needs to be put in boxes and categorized, and there's not a lot of space for doubt, actually. And I think we wanna give this doubt its place back, because we cannot be sure about anything.
No.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Not even the news.
No, the future. Like, it's crazy.
The news here is kind of crazy too.
Yeah.
I see. I read it. It's crazy.
Getting crazier by the day.
Can I come live with you guys? Do you have an extra bedroom?
Yeah. I left before this happened. It's been interesting to watch it outside.
Are you afraid?
You what?
Are you afraid?
Oh no.
It's gonna happen?
No, I'm personally not afraid. I'm just kind of going through my life. I wear my mask because the state I live in, they require it if you go outside, and you'll get in trouble or they won't let you in a store. But yeah, I'm still living my life and doing my stuff. So so far, I'm fine.
Yeah, same.
Nice.
So you want to talk a little bit about ghosts? You've said that's a simple question and a very hard question. So very curious if you could tell us a little bit about that. Because on the surface, it does seem very simple, right? But I'd love to hear more.
The more you talk about it, and this is why we also like to ask questions in our feed about like the ghost rules, because the more you question the ghost rules, the more you find out it's defined by the living. So, for example, like the idea of currently what a ghost is with like this pop culture phenomenon is that it's something calculatable, that if you just have the right technology, you can find them or you can access them, which is really a lot to do with like the spiritualism movement. So like if you have the right piece of technology, you can access the thing that is beyond your grasp with your normal human sensibilities. So it's always like this kind of crutch we have with technology that it starts to play in our afterlife as well. So like, what is a ghost? So in the Western culture, we think it's like a didactic, moralistic thing that comes back for revenge, or
well,
it has a message.
Basically, it's like information. It represents itself as information bringing a moral message to us. Like you should or you shouldn't.
And you shouldn't forget, which really we think a ghost just represents history that shouldn't be forgotten. Or to be haunted just means something is historically charged with meaning. So
yes, that's our definition of haunted.
A ghost is a very easy symbol. And it also has a lot to do with like virtuality and being somewhere you're not physically and occupying a different realm.
Was that the easy answer?
I don't think that was easy.
I wouldn't say so.
For us, we're thinking about it all the time. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. Well, it was very interesting.
Well, our easy answer normally is like, if people have what's a ghost? It's information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's culturally based. So everyone has a different opinion of what a ghost is. And in the West, we have this kind of like ghost adventures. Something's haunting my house. I don't like it. Get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Beat the shit out of that ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you more along the stance of you want to live with ghosts and embrace them?
Well, I think that everyone has, and I use air quotes, ghosts, because it's something from your past, right? Mm-hmm. It's something you cannot reckon with, or something you can't forget, or some guilt, or something, some trauma that you've lived with, or you're learning to live with. So like, you know, maybe you have a history of addiction, so you're kind of haunted by this idea, or your insecurities, or your deepest fears, because you've seen something, you know.
Yeah, I think ghosts, if anything, like apparitions, they're just very relevant. But I don't think they say anything about the dead. They say everything about the living. So I think that's a different perspective than what most people have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think of ghosts as energy, and it's either the energy of somebody who's passed on, or potentially energy that you produce yourself, kind of if you think of like a poltergeist type situation that lingers and can cause issues.
Do you think like poltergeists, apparitions, shadow walkers, are they one and the same, just taking on different forms? Or what's your thought on that?
I think like a lot of hauntings and ghosts and happen at weird places. So they happen at borderlines, or like, you know, like poltergeists are ghosts that are, well, paranormal activity that comes from adolescence, that people are on the verge of childhood into adulthood. And that's also when your ideas about the world have started to form. Like you start liking this different kinds of music. That's kind of like, we all have that moment where like, that's, you know, if you're listening to a band when you're like 13, 14, you're listening to that band the rest of your life, because it's just like that impressionable moment. So a lot of things are changing. Hormones, all these things are changing, and a lot of people that have like paranormal stories are people that live in rural communities that are like on the border of like, you know, being in the middle of nowhere, and also they just got internet, and like a lot of weird things come from like this liminality sort of thing, liminal places, which just means like threshold.
So you mean like these different kinds of apparitions?
Well, that's poltergeist.
They're not like they are different because they're
caused by different things.
They appear in different circumstances.
Yeah. And shadow walkers are like the thing that people are afraid of the most, I think, because they don't really communicate. They just kind of stalk.
Yeah, but I think they also have like people with bad conscience. They normally they're more likely to be haunted by a figure like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think they're.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. That is interesting. Yeah.
I think the human mind is capable of conjuring a lot that
I believe that.
Misunderstood or not discovered yet. I mean, it's.
And there's an interesting example. Like there was this girl, and she approached us, and she was telling us that she had been dreaming about a vampire, like a recurrent nightmare about a vampire, like drinking her blood. And she also told us that she had an accident recently.
Married to a vampire.
Yeah, she married a vampire in her nightmares. And for me, that's like
interesting.
Of course, it's a vampire. Like it's because the vampire is also a monster who lives a little bit in the edge of the physical and the metaphysical. Like the discovery of blood circulation gave a huge boost to vampires in literature, but also people being like haunted by vampires. So I think it's these kind of monsters appear also in a very symbolic way, and so yeah, they're definitely different.
And then we found out that she severely broke her leg and was like also a medical doctor, and also this traumatic event happened to her, and it's all connected to how you feel about your own mortality.
Yeah,
interesting.
All these symbols, you come up with all of these symbols for what they mean to you.
So would you say was she just dreaming of this because it's like a symbolic meaning to herself, or would you say she was actually drawing in a spirit?
I think it doesn't matter. It's just as relevant in both cases.
It's also pretty much the same thing. That's I think true. You can haunt yourself. Like we're all laying there in the middle of the night, and then we're like, oh, what if that happened right now? And then you're like, oh no, I think I just felt the energy of the room change. I shouldn't have thought that. Like, it's.
I actually had that tonight. It was terrible.
It's true.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was afraid in my own room, and it was a long time ago I had that. And I had to turn the lights on because the dark didn't seem friendly last night. Don't know why. Just.
Yeah, you think about kids and you go to different places, and I totally feel you. Sometimes the dark is scary.
Yeah.
It's the most terrifying thing humans have ever had. Back in medieval times, we didn't sleep the whole night through because it was really dangerous. So you would sleep quite early, and then you would wake up in the middle of the night, and you would stay awake for 2 or 3 hours and do some writing or whatever, and then you would sleep until morning.
Or conceive a child. They said that was the best time to conceive a child.
Yes.
I have never heard that. This is interesting.
Have sex, get bread, and go back to sleep.
Yeah, because imagine you're in your town and you're in your house, and there's no street lights, there's no electricity, so dark is dark. You cannot see if someone's waiting for you in the alley. You cannot see the street even. Just imagine it's just completely dark, and people had to, deal with that. So the night was a very scary time.
And there were a lot more unanswered questions.
Yeah.
To
a lot less science.
Be awake.
Totally. And you couldn't just Google it.
You couldn't.
No, you couldn't.
But sometimes Googling it makes it worse.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I will agree with that. You mentioned borderlines earlier. Would you mind talking more about that? I think I've only heard a little bit, but for the people that are listening,
like liminalities and thresholds, where things become neither black nor white, neither true nor false, neither reason nor intuition. It's kind of like this middle ground of where weird things happen.
I always feel like these things are, if you have two magnets that are the same thing, and you hold them to, they cannot touch each other. Like this force in between, it feels a little bit like that.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
Interesting. Do you guys believe in ley lines at all, as far as like the energy grid within the earth?
Well, you know, I do have like my dad was quite skilled with, what are those things called?
The dowsing rod?
Yeah, the dowsing. Like, you could find water like no one's business. So like, I mean, there's gotta be something there, because this is not just guesswork. So, and it's a thing that birds and animals follow. So I think humans do not have all the availabilities for knowing the world the best, I think.
Yeah, or we aren't there yet with our knowledge. Like, we also used to believe that with the air balloons, they went up because of steam, and then they discovered it was warm air, and then, until they discovered a new thing, you know, it's only true until it's not true anymore.
Yeah, like the people who can't handle Wi-Fi signals.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I totally agree. How do you two incorporate art into your work?
Well, most people think that good art is something supernatural. Like, they attribute like something supernatural to an artist, or that they had a really interesting life and they made something that made people feel a certain way. I mean, you all know what it's like when you go to a concert and you feel that amazing kind of elevated feeling. And some people get it from going to church, and some people get it from, you know, religious practice. So we think it's all the same kind of it's all the same kind of thing. But like, artists, I feel like, have more of a burden to reflect the world how it really is. So we think like this rise in paranormal pop culture and technology, and it's all connected.
Yeah, and for me also, the metaphor, for me, I think that's where the magic comes from. And also, if you look at art history, there are so many moments in history that we only know from art.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's the most honest way of time traveling, the only way of time traveling. Look at a painting from like a Renaissance painting, and you can see not only what the people looked like, but also how they looked at it. And I think to be able to follow those lines of thoughts, or if you have a perspective or a broader knowledge on those different time periods, I think you're as good as a time traveler. I think that's the real magic.
Yeah, and people were still haunted.
Yeah.
By much more traumatic things than we experience today. So this is nothing new. Also, being afraid of dying. It's one of the greatest drivers behind art.
I feel like we haven't changed that much, even.
No.
Like, same emotions, just different technology.
I totally agree. Yeah, we've grown as far as science, but we're still obsessed with death and rebirth and
mermaids.
And mermaids.
Oh, I love mermaids.
And
I hope they're real.
I love mermaids.
I love mermaids. Oh my god!
Because I wanted to be a mermaid.
Me too. Bad. I still do.
I wanted to be a vampire. Like,
I want to be a mermaid. I want to get a commissioned flapper, like a Urfin, whatever. I would love one of those. I couldn't think of the word at the moment. Sorry.
Yeah, like a pull-on fish tail.
Yeah. I'd love one of those.
What would you do? Just lay around in your apartment, like?
Yeah.
I would just serenade the sea and wait for a sailor.
I need to be rich enough because I would like a really nice one, and then I can lay out by my pool when I'd have a pool.
And then you would roll in the pool, and then you cannot swim anymore.
I guess I'd be a beached whale at that moment, right? Like flopping into the water. Yeah, I'll crunch while I go in.
Extremely strong arms.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know how you swim in that, like as a human.
You get ripped.
The kids have them though, and I'm kids like, aren't they gonna drown?
I guess it's just for the picture.
Yeah, it's for the gram.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems a little dangerous to me, but
I like
With
it.
supervision, you can be a mermaid.
Ugh, I would love it.
don't rely on your husband.
Oh,
Yeah. No,
No.
No.
he's too busy being a centaur.
Or a cat in the background.
I know.
Is he still there?
Yeah. He's playing video games.
He's probably being a centaur.
All right.
So, have either of you had a haunting story?
Well, I've always had some weird things happen, like some really weird synchronicities, or like where I thought of a thing and the thing happened, or read about a thing and then that's exactly what I'm thinking about, you know. But sometimes I can't really say the difference between like, for example, like the power of the law of attraction. So like if you want to bring that thing to you, it ends up coming to you. So like I have to say that's fully a thing.
And I also think that you cannot really tell the difference between a paranormal experience and like a physical experience. Like how can you tell the difference if they both feel like, if you make a connection in your head that feels like something more than a coincidence, then how can you tell that that's paranormal or just
That's interesting.
I don't know, paranormal experience. I think they feel like normal experiences, but after
With fear.
Yeah.
A lot of fear.
With fear and awe. Like,
which it used to be called the sublime in art history. The feeling of supernatural awe, like standing on a mountaintop looking over a valley.
yeah, sometimes when I'm writing a story and I get really, because I have a theater and writing background, and when I'm writing a story, I'm working on a scene or whatever, then everything in the world seems to be like pointing in that direction. Like everything is all of a sudden about pigeons entering my room or something, you know, and then I just see it everywhere and it feels like
supernatural.
I'm the paranormal center of the universe.
Yeah.
And then I lose it again, and then everything seems random. But sometimes when it doesn't,
I think that's called inspiration.
feels 100% paranormal for me.
Yeah, inspiration is totally paranormal because it's like, oh,
I agree.
Something about this.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I never
when
thought
you have
about
a
that.
spark and an idea, and then it just comes to you, and
Yes.
And you get all sweaty, and you're like, everyone's
Yeah.
going to think of this. I have to do something about it right now.
And it feels extremely uncomfortable. Like everyone who says like, oh, I love creative processes, and when getting inspired, it's so positive. I'm like, no.
It's terrible.
It feels terrible. It's sweaty, a little bit gassy. Like,
I'm always
it's nice
gassy.
when you wrote it down and it's over. Like,
After.
I wrote the story, and then everyone is like, wow, and that's a good feeling, but
Yeah.
painful.
Love torturous nights.
Awesome. I love that. Can you tell us more about your creative process? I am curious. Like, how do you go
The
about?
one we have together?
Yeah.
That's a nice one. Well, normally it's Sybil who discovers something in the world. She's like, oh my God, Rose, they're cloning frogs now, for example.
I'm a total internet creep.
She's an internet.
Yeah.
And then she tells me about it, and then I have a thought about it. So we go like ping-ponging our brains, and then eventually we get to this idea, and normally we have to start right away. Like we had with the dinner date thing.
Oh yeah, our
Patreon.
death over dinner Patreon thing.
Yeah, because she discovered a new trend on YouTube or on an app where people date, and then they
Live dating.
and then they talk about the paranormal, and we're like, we have to do.
Well, I've heard of the live dating show that is on TLC, but I haven't heard of.
Yeah, tell us more about this. What is it?
Since Corona, like everyone, couldn't go out and date. So like because of all of these changes in our society, like live dating is like a thing now. So you'll be set up with a person you've never met. And then you go on a live date and everyone's watching and they can comment and stuff. And this is really like the gamification of love, I guess.
In the virtual space.
Yeah. So I was
I like that.
we have to do this and talk about ghosts and stuff because like we're missing an opportunity. We were talking to someone from Senegal the other day who was telling us about how you can find a demon
if it has 6 toes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So this is what like we always try to put ourselves in the situation while we do research.
Yeah.
So it's always
that's research for us.
An interactive, like you could call it performance, but performance sounds a little bit misleading because then it seems fake, or then it seems like you're pretending to be something. But for us, performance is like putting ourselves in the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want to separate ourselves from what's happening. We want to just do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's theater, but it's more ritual, I would say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you have these online dates with people and you're talking about the paranormal and you're able to connect with people across the globe.
Yes.
What other interesting pieces have you learned from that?
Well, that there actually is something that we all have in common. Like
universality.
In these times, we're always talking about diversity, which is beautiful, and we should talk about diversity. But I would also like to focus on what we do have in common. And I think worldwide, we're all mortal,
Mm-hmm.
and we all live right now. Like this, I love to realize that everyone who's on the planet right now, it's my fellow time person, you know, and
fellow time people.
And we all think about, we all have a projection in our heads, like what's going to happen to us when we die. Like everyone has a story.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible to not have a fantasy about this.
Even nothing is a thought.
Yeah. And to share these projection, these fantasies, these images, these views with each other, it just shows how extremely mystical we are as a species, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. How do you guys feel about reincarnation or rebirth?
I've always found it a difficult topic.
Oh, really?
Because there's a lot of assumptions in
and morality.
And believing in reincarnation, it has a like what's good or bad, or
which comes a lot from the caste system from Hinduism. So if you were this and you were a lower caste, you come back as a lesser animal, and if you were this and you were born in a highway, you come back as a more enlightened person. And I think that's a really moral way. It is reflected in their society of how they come back after they die. So and also like I think it's a way of justifying if someone is a bad person, what we would consider a bad person in life, and thinking that like karma and reincarnation will take care of that, then that takes some of the responsibility off of us.
But I think nature, unfortunately, is amoral.
Science doesn't care.
It doesn't favor. It doesn't punish. It's just chaos. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's neither good or bad. It's
but
powerful.
I think most religions like to have that kind of reasoning for the events which humans cannot explain or cannot reckon with. It's an easy way to like, you know, provide a foundation for making it okay to be a human.
But sometimes though I find myself needing it.
Yeah.
Also, I need it to be there because I cannot really accept endings. Like I don't want there to be nothing when I die, you know? So and I kind of want to keep myself when I die. So believing in a soul and believing that I can, even without memory of this life, that I have another chance, that makes it a lot more acceptable.
Yeah,
it does. Here. I think that's why we're so drawn to religions.
Yes. Yeah, it's a beautiful answer.
Greater meaning for the sublime terror of being a human on a planet.
And that's also what with these to come back at ghost hunting shows, because that's like our original fascination, and then also what we do a little bit. But like I find that they're always asking the ghost if it exists, and I think they should be asking themselves, like, why do I need it to be there? I think it has a lot to do with
For TV.
yeah. I think there's a lot more interesting answers to that question.
Like, are you lonely?
Yeah.
What is it like to be having not a mortal body anymore? Is it totally cool? Because everyone assumes it's really negative, you know, being a ghost. But yeah, for example, we don't really see the difference between humans' perception of like what an angel is and what a benevolent ghost is. So like that's the same thing. Yeah. And then like what a negative ghost is for us is the same thing as having some unresolved issues that manifest in like the way you think, or the things you see out of the corner of your eye, or the things that keep you awake at night, or maybe you haven't slept in 2 days, you know, like when I get a migraine, I see crazy patterns. So like there's no end to what the human brain is capable of.
Yeah.
Truth.
I second that. I have migraines all the time.
I see like checkerboard patterns and like oil spills. It's just
I
crazy.
had my first migraine last week.
Well, aren't you lucky? Just your first.
It was my first. I think it's because I'm almost 30. Like it's starting to happen now.
I've had them since a little girl, so they've just been part of me.
Very terrible.
Yeah, very terrible.
Yeah, not fun. So you guys mentioned that you have a creative way to avoid ghosts. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I think the best way to come to terms with the things you fear and the things you're uncomfortable with and the truths that maybe you're a little bit unstable is to kind of create for yourself. Like whether that's writing it down or you know, learning a new skill or a new craft, or maybe reading a new book, or kind of creating new connections, creating new things, creating new manifestations. I think that's the way you can get rid of your ghosts.
If you give shape to them, actually.
Yeah. If you acknowledge their existence, whatever that might mean to you.
It's like lighting a candle, but then in a more profound way, I think.
Can you give an example of something you've done, or?
Well, for me, with writing in particular, I always go to the place where there's the most confusion or the most friction. Okay. Like this is also with like love. Like if you love someone and you cannot be together, then there's just this inner conflict. And I always like to go there to write, but also to make poetry about that. And I think it's the same with like existential questions. Like
for me it starts with a question, and then the more I research and the harder I go, and I know I'm getting somewhere when a question I ask has less that doesn't raise more questions. For example, like the answer doesn't raise more questions, then you know that's a good direction. If like, for example, like what are ghosts made of? And then you go further and further and you're like, okay, well, ghosts were thought to be made out of electrostatic electricity because electricity was just invented. So they thought that energy was made from this. So like with every new technology, there's new ways of like thinking about what something is made out of. Like, for example, ghosts are information now. So they show up on things that read data, or like temperature controls, or like Xbox Connects, or electrostatic reading devices. So that's still like these old ideas in play with what they are. And the more you research, the more you even figure out that like ghosts weren't even a thing like in the 1200s.
But like how to get rid of a ghost? Like
just shine light on it.
or make one out of clay.
Yeah, shine light, like obviously that's a metaphor, but you know, you have to figure out what your fears are, because they all relate to your own mortality.
Interesting. I like that.
You just made me think of something. There's like the scariest haunted house in the United States where the guy asks, if you make it through the haunted house, you get $20,000. But the guy
He's
asks,
like a total psychopath, right?
yeah, but he picks like your one fear and follows you through and like manifests that fear of you.
Yeah.
Or for you. So
yeah, anyways. And then he like pours vomit on you and stuff.
But how does he know your deepest fear?
Oh, you have to buy dog food for him.
You have to buy dog food, yeah. And he does a screening on you, so I'm guessing he has a whole screening questions for you.
Wow, that's
anyways, that just reminded me when you said
sounds twisted.
Like that's real fear though. Like that's physical fear because he like will tape you down and pour water all over your face and you'll feel like you're drowning.
Yeah.
Well, actually, torture you.
I'm kind of interested in it.
Sure, we'll send you house.
What?
You can go.
I'm kind of interested.
Wow.
I'll pretty much do anything unless I think I'm going to die at the end of it. I
think that's his point.
You have a safe word to get out.
I'll make you feel like you're going to die at the end of it then.
But is this
how long do you have to do this for?
Yeah.
Wow.
But no one's ever gone.
I don't know how long the haunted house is, and no one's ever completed it. No, because they have a safe word, and he takes them out when they say it. I was just recently watching a video.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's an actual almost murderer.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Right before.
Yeah. Sorry, that reminded me.
Let me know how it goes.
Okay.
I'm not signing up for that. Not worth $20,000.
No. I probably need a little more.
Yeah. You're going to need a lot of therapy after that, Stephanie.
I already need therapy, so what does it matter? Just tack it on.
Yeah, working in a really hot kitchen is by the time I'm done with that.
Maybe that's my deepest fear, to like be there endlessly.
Your shift is never over.
Oh, God. That would be miserable.
Yeah, I'd be like stuck working as a barista for the rest of our lives, Stephanie.
Yeah, with like only Karens.
Yes.
Yeah.
With only Karens.
Asking for extra things.
Oh, we only worked with Karens when we were baristas. Let me tell you.
You also work together?
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were in our early 20s, we worked together at an athletic club, a really fancy one.
Okay.
That had a couple restaurants, and we worked in the downstairs cafe. And the people that
Here's this. We only served women that didn't have to work because their husbands worked at Microsoft. So if that gives you an answer or conjures up who you think they were, then you're probably correct.
Yeah. You know a lot about people when you serve them.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is they were Mormon. So the owners were Mormon, and they didn't like facial piercings. And you can't see because it's super small, but I have a really small nose ring. And they didn't like that. So I wanted to be an asshole. And because you either could take it out or put a Band-Aid on it. So I put a massive Band-Aid all down my nose. And when people would ask me, I'd be like, well, they don't like nose rings. Do you like this better? So,
yeah. Wow.
Strike one.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah.
Of course.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. Can you give a shout out to our listeners and let them know how they can get connected with you, or if you have any upcoming fun events you're hosting?
So we just launched our Patreon.
Yeah, we did.
You can become our patron for starting from $2 a month.
Yeah, we have a lot of weird stuff on there, so you should probably check. Like, for example, we talk about your dreams with you and symbolism, or we can go on a date where we talk about death.
Yeah, and soon we will release our ghost hunting episode in a very, very interesting Dutch haunted location. And that will be only access for patrons.
And we're probably cursed forever with what happened at the end.
Yes.
So maybe that's why. Yeah.
Ghost Maidens.
Do you have a website?
Ghost Maidens.
What was that?
Do you have a website?
No, we don't have a website. So we just have the Patreon, which you can find it always, the link in our bio. We also
on Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram. Yeah. Instagram's our main thing. We don't really use Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Just Instagram. We have a YouTube channel. It's all linked from our Instagram. bio. Everything's there.
And you're on Instagram, you're at the Ghost Maidens.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah, and we're also working on a music album at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What kind of music?
It's going to be a combination of like electronic and spoken word, like poetry, and
my favorite's electronic.
It's going to be mostly about paranormal pop culture.
I love it.
Oh, that sounds so neat. I can't wait to hear some.
Yeah.
It will be May, probably. May 2021.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy how fast the year is going.
I'm
glad to have it over with, though.
Don't even know what's going on anymore.
Whatever.
Yeah, well, that's why we did the Patreon, because we, this whole fall thing with Corona coming back in the fall. So, I mean, the creative industry is just totally destroyed here. Yes. So,
yeah,
if we want to keep being able to make videos and stuff, we have to figure out a different way.
And I don't really believe in like government support anymore, like fundings for artists.
For the arts.
Yeah,
that's what's keeping us alive right now with Corona. Anyway.
Yeah, there's not a lot of that here for our artists either. No, not a thing. So. Well, thank you so much, ladies. We really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. I don't really know what we said, so I hope it sounded okay.
Yeah.
Good luck editing that.